Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Keller, and I'm going to talk to you today about using video games in education as a part of the New Media, New Literacies course at SUNY Empire. So, the video game industry in the U.S., every year $15 billion and 3.838 billion hours are spent playing video games. So obviously it's a huge industry, and it's affecting our kids. The majority of gamers are 14 to 19. So if you teach high school, that's right, that's high school, 14 to 19. I teach middle school, so my kids are starting to get in there. Middle schoolers and high schoolers are clearly spending a lot of time playing video games. For my kids, they'll come in completely exhausted in the morning because they've either stayed up late playing a game or they've gotten up early to play the game. Students who don't talk to each other in class will talk at night on the video games. They count down the days until a new game is coming. That's the top of their list, is the new game system. If mom doesn't get it for Christmas, maybe she'll get it with her tax refund. So clearly this is something that is incredibly important to them, and nothing in the school setting is that important. So we need to figure out a way to use video games to help educate our kids. Middle school, high school, the motivation for them to learn isn't necessarily just to learn. They need some sort of other motivation. So research has shown that it can be used in a productive manner. Good games can take up to 50 hours to solve, which is why they get so addicted and they get so tied in. If video games are too easy, then people won't buy them. They're just not marketable. So games really have a lot of thought and effort put in behind them as far as the design to keep kids engaged. So a good game will require them play just below their frustration tolerance. So they will fail. Kids will fail several times trying to achieve a game. But they always make sure that it's doable for them. So, it's just below their frustration tolerance, which is what keeps them coming back. But they also get closer and closer to these successive trials, so they're learning something because they're applying what they've learned to get closer. There's also this concept of pleasurable frustration, which allows students to learn by failure in incremental steps without giving up completely. How many of our kids just give up when they don't understand a math problem or a science concept? But with a video game, they'll go back and keep trying. So when a gamer masters a skill, then the game gives them a new skill. So they master that skill, they're allowed to practice it until they become an expert, and then it throws in a new skill. Now you have to use this new skill to get farther. Isn't that really just what ideal teaching is? Letting kids practice the skill, mastering it, and then adding a new skill. So, if we could teach that way, that would be amazing. Video games require gamers to use logic, memory, problem solving, critical thinking skills, visualization, and discovery. And those are all the skills that we're striving to teach our kids. Those are the skills that common courses we should be teaching them, that we know we should be teaching them. But those soft skills are so much harder to teach in a math lesson or in an ELA lesson. So we tend to teach kids specific skills and they apply it. We teach them to add, they add single digits. We teach them to add double digits, they add double digits. And they get to use that right away, but maybe not in a real life situation. So we teach them a skill and test them. We also tend to lay out all the information a kid needs. Here's how you add. We don't necessarily let them figure it out themselves. But video games force them to solve problems for themselves and figure things out for themselves. It makes them identify the problem, test their hypothesis, analyze what happened, and then strategically think, what am I going to do differently next time? And those are the skills that employers are looking for. They want our kids to be independent thinkers. They want their employees to be independent thinkers. Video game play also requires video gamers to make split-second decisions all the time. They have to keep learning and doing and adjusting in the moment. And they don't realize they're doing that. They don't realize they're learning new skills or practicing new skills or analyzing things. They're just doing it. And they also get to use the information they learned immediately. So, you tried something, it didn't work, you tried a new technique, and then it worked. A lot of students report a higher satisfaction and engagement rate when they're using video games, but that isn't necessarily true of all kids. Kids who do really well in the standard classroom tend to be more resistant toward video games. Some of them said it's actually even harder to play the game than what they've been expected to do in class. The kids that are more interested in video games are the ones that haven't been successful in a standardized classroom program. So they don't have much to lose. School isn't working for them, so they're willing to try something else. There's also some concern too, and some evidence that if you mandate a video game, that actually takes a lot of the motivation away because the kids aren't making the choice and they want to make the choice. One of the major benefits of using video games in the classroom is the ability for students to work at their own pace. I work in a special education program. I have kids that will finish their work in 2 minutes and then kids that are spending 20 minutes. And so everyone knows who that last kid's going to be. Everyone knows who's taking the longest. But if you're playing a video game, it doesn't really matter. They're all engaged for that 20-minute slot or whatever that slot is. So some get farther, some don't. And it may not be the same kids who academically take longer. So when you're trying to differentiate instruction, it's perfect to use a video game because it does it for you. And you don't have to worry about, which kid is not done, which kid is done early. There's been ongoing concerns about the effects of video games, whether or not that's making society more violent, whether or not it's causing more of our kids to come up with ADHD labels, whether it's causing our kids to be antisocial. And that's within the school and without of the school. But really, games are social. Kids are playing online together. Kids who may not talk to each other at school, but they're playing online together. Families are playing at home together. Kids are talking about it when they get to school. Oh, this happened last night. Can you help me out? Like, have you gotten past this point? So it's a different socialization than maybe what we had as kids. We were playing outside together, but they're still socializing. So the most valuable games from a school perspective are going to be the ones that can be used across a variety of age groups and subjects. Video games aren't cheap. Video game systems aren't cheap. Computers aren't cheap. iPads aren't cheap. Any of that technology. So if a school is going to pay for something, they're going to want it to cross a lot of categories. So if it's something that you can be used in a music class as well as a PE class, or if it's something that can be used in second grade and then at a different level in sixth grade, that's something for teachers to consider. Also, video games are not just an easy lesson plan or a filler activity for teachers. There may be a lot of pre-teaching involved. One of the studies, they played Civilizations 3 in a history class, and he said that it was constant questions about background knowledge. The kids didn't have the background knowledge. So he said, looking back, you should have pre-taught all of that. So it's not just this is a super easy way out. Teachers are going to have to invest time playing in the game to understand it, to help kids out. They're also going to have to be able to justify their decision to parents, to administrators, to whoever. This is why we're playing this game. Here's what they're gaining from it. I've played it. I know. So as any educational technique, there's positives and negatives to video games in the classroom. But for a lot of our students who aren't successful in the gen ed program, who aren't successful in a standards academic program, video games can be really helpful for them, and the positives outweigh the negatives. As with anything, video games are not a replacement for good teaching. They're a supplement. They're a strategy. They're yet one more way to help reach our kids. But I really think for our kids that are so tied into video games, there are really a lot of things that they can learn from them.